Did you know you can add the parts of nearly any official Lego set to your own studio project in just a few clicks? Whether you want to build it digitally or use that as a starting point for your own alternate build, let's look at how to do just that in BrickLink Studio. I've had a similar tutorial on my channel for a while, but since that one came out, the BrickLink team has revamped the experience. So, this is their new and improved process. To import a set, there are a few different ways to do it. Perhaps the easiest is to start at the home screen that comes when you first start Studio. If you have projects open, you can always just click this little home icon, take you back to the home screen. On the home screen, there's an option called Import Lego Sets. And when we click on that, it brings us to a list of suggested things to import and build. Now, these parts are being imported as pieces, not as completed models, because they're just importing the BrickLink inventory of all the parts we need. In this case, I'm going to search for set 6054 and hit enter or the search button, and that will show me the set I would like, which is indeed this Forestman's Hideout classic castle set there. Now, as you look at the set, it will tell you a few things. For example, here we have a couple of parts that do not exist in the BrickLink library. That's important to know as you start importing pieces. But it will tell us all the pieces that are available. We can also get a few informations about the set itself. For example, this one was from 1988. It consists of 194 parts, and this particular model does not come with instructions. Um, if the instructions for the set exist at the lego.com support instructions portal, they will be imported here as well. So if I were to search for something different, let's say the new one, you'll notice this one has all the pieces and I do have the instructions. I can click on that and it will open the instructions for me directly in a web browser. But let's go back and let's build the legacy set instead. Once you find a set you like, you can import it as a palette. And if there are missing parts, it will recommend alternates for you. So for example, this particular mold, the 3957A mold, isn't available, but the alternate 3957B is, so that the top is flat instead of round. And the sword is going to be similar, where it's not the exact mold, but it's fairly similar. I'm great with that. I'm going to hit replace and proceed. The types of pieces that are missing will either be old or unique, kind of one-off molds. A lot of intellectual property driven minifigure custom heads and helmets and things will often be not available. And anything that's stickers are also not available. And some prints are not available too. But for the most part, you can find what you need. I'm going to go ahead and replace both of those. I could pick a different piece if I wanted, right? Don't substitute it and skip it or anything. But in this case, I'm fine to just replace and proceed. Building instructions will show up here again if you didn't grab them already. Again, this particular set doesn't have any, so I'm going to hit OK. And now I have a new model opened with that palette imported. Now you'll notice that that palette is in my list of palettes. I could switch back to the main palette at any time, or I can switch back to my Forestman's Hideout palette. And as I start adding pieces to my model from that palette, the pieces vanish from my list. And everything that you normally do to add parts is, of course, still going to work. I can still use the categories to filter by categories and say, hey, jump to just the slopes, jump to just the plates. I can also search not just by the type of part, but I can search by color. So I can say, I only want to see the blue pieces, or I only want to see any brown pieces. And as you're building a set, something I do recommend is to turn on those decorated parts, because that will make finding things like minifigure heads that are decorated or shields or what have you, much easier to find. So once you have the palette imported, you can start building and creating your own or following the instructions to build the set. I often say to people who are just getting started in BrickLink Studio that importing sets that you find interesting that are smaller instead of massive and starting to build those sets is one of the best ways to practice your building skills in Studio. You're going to get practice finding parts, adding parts, rotating your model, zooming in. You're going to get practice connecting things together and making sure that everything looks right. Um, Without having to also spend a lot of mental energy deciding what should come next. And even if you just build two or three, 100, 200 piece sets, by the time you get through those little sets like this Forestman's Hideout, you'll be in a much more comfortable place to start building your own creations. Building official Lego sets digitally can be a great way to save money, learn cool new techniques, or get a jump start on your own creations using parts that you already know you have. I also say that building a few sets is a great way for beginners to get comfortable with digital building. If this was helpful or you learned something, say thanks with a like, comment, or by subscribing. And be sure to check out more tutorials, including the rest of the Studio Basics playlist, right here on my channel.